Bedroom
Yeah.
Blueprint, Ant Semaj, Speed. Got my boy Meko here today, man. Bro,
What's
what's up,
going
man? How you
on?
doing, man? you
Adjust my glasses so I can see.
gotta be able to see, man. We need them to be able to see the words and stuff.
Man, hold on, I ain't got no glasses. See, what? Let me
Now
go
you
with the
just
lenses out of some shit.
mm, well, we said we may have some special guests that may join us here a little bit later and stuff like that. But we're gonna do this for the fellas tonight. We're gonna talk a little bit of things. A few weeks ago we had a cigars and whiskey event. We had a real good time. Opening up, being transparent amongst ourselves. I haven't heard. I'm glad that I haven't heard anything negative about it. I'm sure there are people who have negative feels, things like that. That's their business. But for what we needed as a community, and I'm not even talking about lifestyle community, just men being able to who see each other all the time, but actually communicating, talking, actually having full conversations, and even afterwards, where we just sit around for an hour or two, just still conversing, it was needed. So we're
Right.
gonna continue. We're gonna continue that today, man. So I guess I'm gonna ask the question, man. How y'all mental space holding up this week?
Uh,
hmm
uh,
Oh,
hey,
speed.
mine, mine's is cool. I've been, like I've said on other episodes or whatever, just taking this break, as much as possible, as far as promoting, marketing, being on social media, just I to be honest with you, I wasn't going to stop going to parties as
hmm
far as events, but I was like, I just decided one day, you know what, I'm probably not going to go to any parties either. Like,
hmm
literally just sit my ass down and just really like kind of get my bearings under me, figure this thing out all life. But since I've been sitting down, a lot of stuff has happened as far as good shit, just stuff just lining up. So I'm good. And
hmm
if it continues to go well, I might be gone until April. Who knows?
hmm
But man, my mental space right now is good.
Okay, Marlon. I mean, Miko, what you about you, brother?
I mean, for me, it be up and down sometimes, but right now it's cool. You know what I mean? It's good.
hmm
Um, I still feel, some people say I'm not new no more, but I still feel new to the area. So it's
hmm
I still feel like I'm adjusting. So that
hmm
kind of has me on guard. But other than
hmm
that, I'm good.
Yeah, I've heard that a few times from you, Miko.
Well,
The being guarded. um being guarded amongst the new area, new people, things like that. And where do you feel like that stems from? Because from what I've seen, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, because again, this is me still just getting to know you. That I feel like you're fairly open, brother. I feel like talking to you is easy. I feel like you had a good upbringing with family and friends and things like that. But where did the guardedness come from for you?
I mean, I think it from life. You know what I mean? Like,
hmm
if you think, everybody's, story is different. You know what I mean? I
hmm
came over from Trinidad. You know what I mean?
hmm
So I'm like a 4 or 5 years old. I just came to Brooklyn, New York, and I'm the little foreigner from Trinidad didn't speak good. You know what I mean? So
hmm
that's where it started, right?
hmm
Then coming up in New York, you know what I mean? Everything you just stay on guard. You know what I
hmm
mean? You watching for people trying to. They would take your shoes off your feet. People coming to school with no shoes, no jacket. So that's where it started in New York.
Yeah.
And then I moved to Denver,
hmm
and so I'm a New Yorker in Denver. Crips and Bloods. I'm fi- I'm I'm worried about Crips and Bloods for the first time. Then I moved to Atlanta, and nobody in Atlanta like New York. So then,
Mm-hmm.
then, then the army, then 21 years in the army, that's the on guard times 10.
hmm
And then I moved to Texas in this highly sexually charged environment. You know what I
And
mean?
yeah.
I'm on guard. That's
And
true.
that's what I was going, and that was the next question I was going to ask because, and this can go for any of y'all brothers. Jay, appreciate you joining, bro. This go for any of y'all. With us being on guard and in protection mode, things like that. What does the lifestyle do for us to actually soften that stance? Or do you still continue to be guarded?
Well, I'm gonna answer that. There's certain people that I've met here that you know that that especially not me, wifey. Once wifey feels comfortable, there's certain
Mm-hmm.
people that feels comfortable, and and we see how they throw their parties in their events, and we will always attend their events because what I mean. One, it's a safe event, and what I mean, and
Mm-hmm.
the environment is cool. So there are times, but nonetheless, like typically when if you're not at the ones the events that we are, if you're out and about or at the clubs, you got to stay on guard because even in still, there's always that one time where that Mickey will get slipped or somebody will pull a condom off or just you hear about those stories like that. So that's what you be on guard for.
Yeah.
Because you want to come out and have a good time. You don't want to be worrying about stuff like that.
Yeah. Speak.
Yeah, I feel like just going off of what Miko said, like you have to be on guard, not just for yourself, and maybe not even just for your partner, but for the other women in this lifestyle, just being
Mm-hmm.
guarded and being protected. Um that's just from the physical standpoint. There are a
Mm-hmm.
lot of places that I will go to that I'm gonna stay on guard, like even if I'm maneuvering around, working, or if I'm just talking to other people or whatever, I might be going back and forth, but you can see me going back and forth. um huh
No, I ain't say
Oh,
that.
you can see me going back. You can see me going back and forth, but I'm still paying attention and observing everything around me. And when it comes to just being guarded in general, when you are, if let's just say you do have a spouse, let's just say you do have a person, or you have a door date or whatever. um, you want to make sure those people are good. So you know you got
No.
you got people coming up to you saying, "Hey, I want to play with your lady," or "Hey, I'm interested in your spouse." You got to figure out if those people are going to be good enough for your partner
Mm-hmm.
to play. You know what I'm saying? Even though, depending on what your dynamic is, you have a choice, and so does your partner.
Yeah.
But you can't. Everybody can't enter into your world and your energy, because I mean that lingers, and you don't want to be a. If that person's not no good, you don't want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Jay, what you feel about that, bro?
So the question is, in the lifestyle or spaces or environments, am I more or less guarded? That's the question.
Uh, the question is in the lifestyle environment, while with us being guarded individuals, how do we essentially release some of that pressure of being guarded in this space? I mean, because it's obviously it's a sexually charged environment, and we have to be semi open in order to communicate with different people.
Mm-hmm.
So we are letting our guard down somewhere, but
Mm-hmm.
how are we doing that? Because it seems to me that us as men, we are guarded. It's harder for us to. Most of my friends are lifelong friends, people that I've known forever. It's harder for us to meet new individuals to say that this guy is my friend, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's a very interesting question. And again, hello, resident weirdo.
Mhm.
So I do believe in that I'm covered by, whether you want to call it God, the cosmos, energy, or whatever the case may be. I believe when I go out in public or I'm around people that who is going to connect with my energy is going to connect with my energy. If you see me and I go out to places and spaces and kick, I'm not going out like, hey, take a picture with me all over the room. Like I usually be posted up and people I know or people that happen to get a whiff of my energy or I'm introduced with usually attached to me. But I just keep my energy clean. I'm not literally walking around. I am protective, right? I'm
Hmm.
always, my head's always on a swivel. But as far as being guarded, it don't take much for me to know that I don't want to fool with you, if that
Hmm.
makes sense. At least that's my perspective.
And I think that's essentially that's probably the perspective of a lot of us. And it's funny. I feel like, and y'all can correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like with guys and other guys, it's essentially it's one strike and they out. But I feel like we give women more chances.
Mm, not necessarily a one strike you're out type of situation because like humans are gonna human, people are gonna
Hmm.
people, right? And for me, it's a slippery slope, right?
Hmm.
Sometimes you want to say, you know what, bless their heart, they had too much to drink. Maybe they had, the wrong thing happened today. They got into it with their old lady, they lost their job or anything like that. You want to give people grace to be able to be to people, but it also depends on what is the infraction. Some
That,
infractions, no,
that's
you
a,
have sex because it's too telling of what your character is, right? If you step on my shoe, I'm not gonna be like, oh man, that's he a whole ass nigga. He stepped on my damn J's, right? I'll make grace in that matter, depending on what his energy is. If I grab him or if I tap him and be like, give him the look like, hey, you just stepped on my shoe. If his energy is looking me up and down like I'm short, oh, we got a problem. But if his
Hmm.
energy like, oh man, my bad, I didn't mean to, my bad, brother, or whatever the case may be, then we good.
Hmm.
It always be dependent on the circumstance and situation. I was in a conversation with someone else. Sometimes there are circumstances that can actually make an across the board situation or I mean action in a different setting, that action is not the same or not received the same,
Hmm.
if
I
that makes sense.
Right.
I would agree and disagree a little
Okay.
bit. The
Hmm.
reason why I say that is because I feel like uh, there are a lot of people. Well, I do agree with the infraction. It does deal, it definitely matters about what the infraction is. But I've seen too many situations where whether let's just say you're a man. I've seen too many situations where a man has done certain things and they've gotten kicked out and you don't see them in certain circles. But then you have these other men who have what quote unquote pretty privilege, and then they can still come back regardless of whatever infraction it was. Now with the women, I feel like they get the pretty privilege off top most of the time because once you start, you can kick out the men all day because the women run the LS. You can kick out the men all day, and of course, the men that's left, they're just going to reap the benefits of whatever women is there. But if you start kicking out women, then you're going to have a sausage fest at these parties because there's not a lot of new vetted people that are coming into this circle that you would that's not vetted and going about it the right way. So I do like I said, I agree and disagree because some of those people, depending on your stats, your status, your stature, whatever, you can almost get away with some shit.
So
Just
basically, more the women get all the leniency.
Yeah, and
yeah,
that's what I was, and that's what
yeah.
I was bringing up is that, like,
Sure.
I witnessed some things even just this weekend where you're just like, somebody who probably shouldn't have been around or shouldn't, and they're still getting invited and invited and invited, and the vibe for them is always fucked up.
Mm.
And like, but you invite this person because they DTF,
Yep.
Mm.
and
And now fuck
and
the
so
whole house.
yep, and so we good we good with that type of energy because she DTF. But meanwhile, the guys who are that same way, they don't get that same privilege. So
Yeah, I
But
can't.
you,
and
but
we
Because I don't know who's banned. You understand what I'm saying? I don't have that knowledge like y'all have because I haven't been.
Nico, I'm gonna tell you like
you
this: you don't want to know.
don't want, yeah.
You
See,
don't want to
saying
get down. You don't
you
want to
don't
go
want
down
that.
that road.
But that's what I'm saying. I don't know enough about this community that who's banned to even speak on it because I don't know. I mean, I tell you, you could off the rip. You know that the females are gonna get a little bit more leniency. I mean, it's just what it is. Just like if a guy and a girl is together in a lifestyle and they break up, who's gonna get the invite first is the female.
A woman.
So, I mean, so we already know that's just what it is. Because if not, it's gonna be a whole bunch of dudes at the
Yep.
party. We don't want that. So of course the
And,
female get a little bit more leniency. That's why they
and
get it free most of the time.
and you know what's so crazy is that we will actually allow the woman to stay at the same party after they made the infraction.
I don't know.
They'll
I
get
don't.
a talking. They'll get a talking to front pull to the side, whoever the host is or whatever, and then they're able to steal whatever. But back to what you had said. We had I don't know where we was talking at, but it's probably like an episode or something. But how we were talking about the laziness, how we was talking about the laziness, and this gonna be controversial, but fuck it. Um, a lot of women don't want to be seen as like a blow up doll, a cum box, or all these things, whatever. But
Why the
you,
fuck you here? But go ahead, I'm listening.
but you gonna do this. You are here to do this thing because what's gonna happen? You're gonna be upset if you get thrown out this party.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, shit. Hold on, Speed.
Foxy Cleopatra.
We're gonna pause right quick, Speed.
Right. Don't worry. I'm done talking shit. Don't worry. I'm done.
Mm,
She fed in
mm,
that fro too, ain't she?
Hmm.
mm. How you doing,
How are
boo?
y'all? I'm
Oh,
good. How are y'all?
good,
Good, good.
good.
We
We
better now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You changed the whole energy in the room. Changed.
To go. Always.
Listen, dude, I'm glad you're here because now I can
Wait
I
a
can go.
minute. I didn't even recognize who that was. Girl, what's up?
Me and my Black History Month
Listen, we
dress
all
up.
for it. We all for it. We only get 28 days, but we're gonna make the most out of the 28 days they
Facts.
try to
I'll
give
make it a
us.
whole 365.
Exactly. So yeah, but where were we at, Speed? I'm gonna let you finish up, then
Oh
I'm gonna
no.
pivot a little bit.
Yeah, I was just saying like being being a woman and them saying that they don't want to become they don't want to be seen as a cum box or they don't want to be seen as a blow up doll, but they will get upset literally when they say, oh well, why can't I stay at this party? I know I did this and this and that, but why I can't stay? Because you want to still fuck something. Like,
Mm.
yeah, we'll I'm not slut shaming by no means. I think if you want to 10-person gangbang, or if you want to slut 5 or 6 niggas out in one night, that is totally
Do
up.
that shit.
Do you whatever gets your rocks off, but also don't say that you don't want to be seen like this if you're doing the things to be seen like this.
Mm. You know what the crazy part of all that though, Speed? That conversation that you're talking about right now, it tends to only happen with single women.
Right.
because I'm
I
not gonna speak for you. I'm not gonna speak for you, Miko and Chi Chi. I'm not gonna speak for you. But I know for myself that that's not a conversation that I actually indulge in when it comes to it, my wife or anyone that comes to or approaches her, because we know what we're there for. And her having a spouse or Chi Chi being partner or Miko you being partner and having a wife, and your wife probably doesn't feel that way. She's able to just be out there and be free
right.
compared to a lot of the single women who are kind of probably getting that. I shouldn't even say they're getting it. They're feeling like they're getting a
Stigma.
bad because they don't have a partner and they're probably looking for one. But the issue is they're looking for one inside of a space where it's typically a non-monogamous space. And so I guess my question for you is that for y'all is that emotional maturity and emotional monogamy. Because I think I brought this up off air a little bit, Miko, where we're talking about the difference between emotional monogamy and physical monogamy, and what does that feel like?
Well,
Because right now, go ahead.
Huh?
I'd like to
Oh,
chime in with what you're referring to as far as the women not wanting to feel like a cum box and all those different things, right? We
Mm-hmm,
just have to state the facts, as fucked up as it may be. Single women can be potentially preyed on a lot,
mm-hmm,
not just by the couples, not by the single males, but by the women as well,
mm-hmm,
because they're unprotected.
mm-hmm,
Mm,
Oh, I can definitely speak to this thing.
mm-hmm,
Like, the single female, she's like, okay, well, I mean, she really getting the best attention when it comes to those spaces, but at the same time, it's like, what's really real?
mm-hmm,
So for her to be out here busting it wide open, like you said, Speed, throwing up pussy a party or doing the 10 gang bang or whatever it is she wants to do, she should be able to do that without it being this look at her type of energy. But
I'll agree.
if she was partnered, then it wouldn't be that, because
Hmm.
she just basically out here unprotected. I know it's unfortunate for those single women that are in those positions, because I don't
mm-hmm.
think they like it either, as much as it is what it is. But that's just the facts.
I'm gonna put the question on the screen so that we know if y'all can see that. That's the
Yeah.
question I was trying to ask. Is emotional monogamy more important than sexual monogamy?
No,
that
I think that's defined by the relationship and the boundaries within the relationship. I
Mm,
have, I may have emotional intimacy with somebody that I'm not physically intimate with. I may
mm,
have physical intimacy with somebody that I'm not emotionally intimate with. One does not outweigh the other. The relationships, stand on their own merit.
mm,
I like that answer.
mm-hmm. Makes sense. Makes sense.
that's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say the same thing. Like it depends on the individuals. Like you know, I guess what you said. I'm emotionally monogamous because I've been married
Mhm,
for 25 years. So yeah, I'm assuming that I am right. So it depends
mhm,
on. So the sexual monogamy doesn't because we lifestyle. So that's out the door. But yes,
mhm,
emotionally I am monogamous to my wife. 'Cause
mhm.
that's our one rule.
Well,
Now, and let me ask you this question. Now, I want you because the reason I want to say that because obviously majority of us being in a non-monogamous state, and I think we've all been monogamous in some way at some point in our life. So thinking from a monogamous person as well, and put yourself in in their shoes right now too. And that's why I brought you up, Miko, when I talked about emotional monogamy as well, because again, you probably can see that better than the majority of us. With me being more probably not ethical, non-monogamous, Chi Chi being a relationship anarchist for a little bit of time. I don't know where she is right now. We got to talk about
No, that
where that flows.
relationship that I will always be an
Oh,
RA.
okay, and that's why I'm making sure. I don't know because think people
That
we
is
are
the
fluid.
basis of everything. I
That is
just
the
am able
basis.
to encompass many different dynamics and styles,
Right.
but I would
So like
always be.
yeah. So that's why I kind of wanted to make sure that I asked you that first, Miko, just to make sure because again, a lot of people that get into this, they're non-monogamous until it is convenient for them. And we've seen people who are non-monogamous until like, oh, I found somebody, so we out.
But like I guess for me, that argument doesn't hold much weight. And the reason I'll say
Mhm,
that is because one, people are ever changing.
mhm,
Dynamics are ever changing. When you come into the space, most people come in on the swinger side. And then
mhm,
as they are exposed to more of it, the kink spaces and all of that, polyamorous spaces and things, then they branch out and decide, yes, I want this, or no, I want this. I don't know why we like to
Label.
penalize the monogamous people
mhm,
when, you know what I mean, there is space in LS for monogamy. You have those who are monogamous and simply exhibitionist and just want to be in the space so they can practice that. That is still LS. They are
yes.
still monogamous. They are not ethically non-monogamous. They are still monogamous, but they are still within the space. But we
Mm,
want to, you know what I mean, separate ourselves as if monogamy is a, oh no, you got to be, monogamous or LS. You can't be both. That's just simply not true. And
mhm,
people's dynamics change, they evolve over time. What they may have came in wanting and being okay with may be different. Even when you get in a relationship, you have to you know what I mean, reset your boundaries and everything. You have to have, communicate, talk, see what's comfortable for y'all. And you may start in one place. Like Chris and I have been together for a year and a half. We have had countless discussions and reset boundaries over and over and over again. How we want to move, what we want to do. Once we get comfortable in one area, we add something else. We may take away something. It is ever changing. And so I don't understand why we feel like monogamous people have to be static. Like, oh no, you're monogamous. I, for one, all of my previous relationships before Chris were monogamous relationships. However, I have been in LS space for over 20 years, officially in event space.
mhm,
But I tell people all the time, I I didn't come into LS space and then become, you know what I mean, become this.
mhm,
I came to this and realized that who I was this.
Mm-hmm.
So
That makes sense.
um it's like, it's like we're very unforgiving. We don't want to give people the opportunity. Like, even, if you're a single woman in this space, like for me, I was single for about 3-4 years before Chris and I got together. um I purposely did not want to date. I let, people know I wasn't interested. Those that, expressed interest, I wasn't interested in a relationship at the time. And then when I I don't even know when it officially changed, but somehow Chris got through the gate.
mhm,
But during that time, like, it was so hard to operate in this space as a single woman because you are literally, it feels like you're almost walking on eggshells for everybody else, because you want to make sure the women feel secure and that you're not there to replace them or to try and take theirs or whatever the case may be. Then you have the men in the space. Um, you have the upstanding ones who are great and wonderful and everything else, and they can educate you and all that great stuff. But you also have the predatory ones. You have the ones that can't get it outside of this space and they are roaming in this space. And so you're having to navigate all of this, and like Jay pointed out, you're unprotected. You know what I mean? You are not under anyone's covering. I know for myself, there were a lot of events that once I got uncomfortable, I would go ahead and leave. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't because I didn't know that there were guys there that I could go to in the event that something happened. It's
mhm,
because for me, I don't even want the attention. I don't want anybody to have to come to my rescue in that space. It makes me feel like I am inadequate. It makes me feel like, you know what I mean? Like I should not be there. So for me, I
mhm,
would just remove myself. I wouldn't go to people. And so I would have things that would happen and I address it myself. You know what I mean? Whether it be on a grand scale with everybody or just, with the person that violated. But the point is that, you know what I mean? It gets old. I remember I had to make posts about familiarity. When you're a single woman, everyone feels like you're their woman. So they're all familiar. Everybody is walking up and they want to kiss you and hug you and grab you and grope you and everything else because you belong to no one. So they feel like you belong to everyone.
Mm.
Everyone lays claim to you. And it's an exhausting space to be in as a single woman.
I'm glad that I was able to get you to answer that because the way I asked that, I was hoping that you answered it that way because I can ask my next question. Because I don't believe that in myself personally, but I have to. I'm hosting. I got to make sure I ask the question in a way to do it. So I'm Jay. I'm gonna come to you with this question,
Okay.
and I'm gonna put it out here on the stream. So, What do you think monogamy gets right that people do not talk enough about?
Okay. So, what do monogamous people get right that they don't get enough credit for? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Well, I I'm struggling with that question because and I can be transparent about this. I've done monogamy a lot and it didn't work for me. And though my two marriages and other ships, if you will, or connections I've had with women, there are points and things that I enjoyed a lot about
Mm-hmm.
it, right? But definitely wasn't it didn't work for me because that's not who I was.
Okay.
Like when I went to a homecoming about 10 years ago and I was telling one of my friends from college and I was like, "Hey bro, I'm living my life a little differently, a little alternatively."
Mm-hmm.
And his response to me was like, "Duh." And I was like, "Duh? Nigga, what you talking about, duh?" He's like, "Bro." He said, "Bro, you ain't never been regular when it came to that kind of stuff." He's like, "You been like that since I known you." And it was just eye opening to me because it's like, as I did the cycles and I took it to the lab, he was absolutely right. Like, I've been like this since high school, but because of, colonization, the way we were raised, your parents, the church, the community, or whatever it was, your environment, or my environment specifically, I always thought I was a sexual deviant. I always thought it was something wrong with me, that the desires that I had, the way I wanted to move, the fact that I just could not seem to have this, you the apple of my eye, you the only woman I see, you the only woman I want to fuck type of energy. I never really had that,
So Jay, let me
right?
ask you. Let me ask you this question, and I'm gonna come back to the original question to everybody else. So, are you feeling like you chosen monogamy by default and not by intention?
Absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely. I had the mindset, I had the logic that this is what I'm supposed to do as opposed to what I want to do,
Mm.
which is
That
the
shit
reason why
sucks.
it was yeah, which is the reason why it struggled and the reason why I felt caged in, the reason why I couldn't really walk in my authentic self, the reason
Mm.
why, depending on who you might ask in my past, put whatever word you want to in front of ships, that
Mm.
they may have a tilted or jilted view of me, though I've been solid to a certain degree, but I wasn't honest. I couldn't walk
Mm.
in my truth because I didn't know what it was because I was struggling with it.
Mm.
So, what monogamy might potentially get right, but this doesn't, just to answer your question, and I really would have to spend some more cycles on it. But what monogamy sometimes can get right is which I don't necessarily agree with it as I'm thinking about it before I word it, is the presentation of a unit and when it comes to raising kids. Like
Mm.
my kids kind of got an idea of who their daddy is at this point, but I don't know what that effect would have had on them raising them that way from the rip.
Mm. I'll answer that at the very end because my kids know about my life. So I'm gonna go to Miko first. Chichi, and I'm gonna come to you. So what do you think monogamy gets right that's not talked about enough?
So I'm assuming we're speaking when done right. right?
Yes.
So
Traditional, done right monogamy.
monogamy, what I don't think that people talk about enough is the intimacy and the connection
Hmm.
from the monogamy. Because when it's just, when you like in that in tune with that one person, y'all building, y'all learning, y'all growing, I mean, as corny as it may sound or whatever, soulmate. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And um and I guess I had the opportunity to see that from the beginning. Like I said, me and E started as friends. You know what I mean? So once we became an item, it was easy because we was friends first. So we
Yeah.
had that bond and the monogamy or the title or the blanket just melted it all together.
All right. Chi.
I would say contentment. In monogamous spaces, contentment is it they just do it much better. Like, um, we hear variety is the spice of life, and so we all, because we're not monogamous, most of us and things in this space, we all indulge in this variety, and then so we're all, but a lot of us, I realize, like even in whether it's kink space or whatever the case may be, the longer you're in it, the more you engage in it, the deeper you're going into it, the more you're open to, the more you're doing, your tolerance changes, things like that. So we're never content in this space. And I think a lot of times that also breeds problems within relationships because you're always looking for the next best thing. You're always chasing a dragon or whatever the case may be, looking for the next greatest experience. And I think, you know what I mean? That is one thing that monogamous couples, don't have. Like for them, they're not looking for something better than what they have generally. If they're happy, in a relationship, they're never looking for better. They're never looking for more. They're not really looking for variety. They're like, Miko said, is just going into, they're building on their intimacy and their legacy and what they have contained within themselves.
But does it feel
And
like
here, everybody's attention is just all over the place. It's so many different places. You can't focus on any one person or thing to build anything. There's not a lot of longevity in this space
Mhm,
unless you came in together. But for
mhm,
people that are starting in this space together, I just don't see much longevity there.
mhm. Speed, I'm gonna change your question just a little bit with this. So, for everything that Chi just said, do you feel like people treating the LS like a drug?
Oh,
They.
can I get my little bit, please?
Mm,
I actually just talked about this with a friend of mine, and we were talking about taking sabbaticals,
mm,
and figuring out what we would like to do as far as like our future goals for the LS and events and all the things. Because what happens is we see the same 50 people every week, and we're not missing anything. We know what it feels like. We know who we're going to fuck. We know who we're going to see. We know what food we're going to eat at these parties. We know, all the things. But we feel like we can't get enough of it because we feel like we're missing out on something. We're missing out on that next high. We're chasing that new person that might be coming there, and we're like, oh, I want to try to get to that person before somebody else gets to them. But
mm,
we don't want to, excuse me, we don't want to stop and just think about it like this ain't going nowhere. I've been in this the last 4 years, 4 or 5 years. It's not going nowhere. But we treat it like you said, like it's a drug because it's ultimately something that we have deemed necessary for us to live. And in a lot of people's spaces, because a lot of people don't get this, was not getting this, kind of like what Chichi said, outside of the LS space. They may not have had the friends that they've had. They might not get the ass that they get. They might not see as many beautiful. That's another thing. there's a lot of beautiful women in this space.
Mhm.
And there's not a lot. I'm not going to say they're all in one space. That's the thing. They're all in one space. You have to go to 5 different places on the Sunday for brunch and Sunday fun day just to find the 2 or 3 that's in that building. And you think you're gonna get the opportunity to talk to them, and it's 200 to 300 motherfuckers in here? No. But if you can get into an area where there's 50 or there's 100 people, and 60 of them is women, and 40 of them look bad as fuck, and you get to maybe talk to at least 1 or 2 of them, you
Mhm.
win it. So yeah,
Mhm.
you you definitely treat it like you want to look for the next high. And just like also what Chichi's saying, you have these predators that are out here that are necessarily just coming into, oh, let me see who I can prey on. I'm not gonna start prey up. I'm not gonna start playing till about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. That's when they done got drunk, they done took their drugs, and they done did all
Mhm.
these things. So I'm gonna get them. And
Mhm.
we have to do better to protect some of these women, a lot of these women, because they are unprotected.
All right, Miko, I'm coming to you with go ahead. Go ahead. I'll let you answer that, and I'm coming to you with this next question. Go ahead.
So I just wanted to say that, I don't think that people treat it like a drug.
Okay.
And I'm gonna tell you why, right? And and of course there are some people that do, right? But we talking
Mhm.
about the overall, right? The majority.
Mhm.
Me, I don't think
Mhm.
so. What I think it is, like any other social club, right? Our community, ours just so happen to be that we like fucking and sucking and licking on each other, right? But it's still a social club to hang out like-minded people who like to be around each other and like to
Mhm.
do things. So yes, there are there are community, like you said, the same 50 people, right, or whatever the number is. There are a whole bunch of those 50 all around the Dallas Fort Worth area, right? We just happen to be one where we go out and we enjoy each other's company. I like to see Chi Chi. I like to hang out with y'all. I like to see my people, Jay Jizzle, the T and J's, I like to see everybody. I like to hang out. And it just so happened that, that we might lick and suck and buck on each other. That's what we do.
It
People are
just so
smoking cigars.
happens.
Just
We
so
smoking
happened.
cigars. Every opportunity they get, they smoking a cigar. That's another
Yeah.
social club.
Right.
Motorcycle club. They like to hang out, go ride around, they ride their motorcycles on. We're just another social club. I was just happen to
We
be
need jackets.
everything.
Hey,
You know what?
can we get a Letterman? So I got a couple of patches I need to put on
I'm
mine.
saying, though.
Okay, well, let's talk about the initiation process.
But you understand the concept, though, is what I'm saying. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't think, of course, there some people within our community who overindulge. I'm sure there is.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm sure there is. But overall, it's just a lot of sexy, like minded people who like to be in each other's company. I just so happen to enjoy feeling each other inside and out.
All right.
I would like to kind of
Facts.
piggyback on what Miko said because I agree. I'm not saying I disagree with Chi Chi is saying. I'm not saying I disagree with what Speed is saying. But for me personally, like I've probably been to what, maybe a dozen plus events, and some of those could have been play parties or opportunity to play, and I ain't play with nobody.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not chasing no high. I like being around my people to where it ain't weird if I see Chi Chi and I hug her and we slob each other down. Ain't nobody looking like, ooh, why are they kissing on each other like that? Cause Chi Chi my people. Ain't nobody looking at me weird. I can be free to be who I am. Unless people are looking at me weird, I don't know. I don't care either. But 'cause I don't
Now,
think that it's a high that I'm chasing because I'm older, so I don't even fuck for sport no more.
I mean, like don't get me wrong. First of all, I won't say that's not everybody in this space.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
'Cause I'm very much like you. I can go. I've been to many of an event and just enjoyed the vibe, socialized, and hung out, and I'm good to go home.
Hmm.
So it's not that everybody is there. I just said that for monogamous people, they just tend to do contentment much better than we do in this space. And
Right.
that doesn't necessarily mean that it's always a good thing either, because contentment can also bring resentment when you're stuck in a situation that you really don't want to be in, but you're just too content to leave because you just rather not go figure out, you know what I mean, what your next step is. So that's
I'm
not
so
necessarily
glad you
saying that
said
just
it.
because
Yeah.
yeah, it's not to say that is, that makes them better in a way. They just do that better.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, you know what I mean? Just like, Speed said, you do have those that come and it is, they're in the environment, but they're not of the environment. And their
Mhm.
mind and the way they're moving and things like that, um, it is a disservice to the community.
Facts.
And that's pretty much where I'm.
All right, Miko, let me ask you this. Do people enter the lifestyle for freedom, healing, curiosity, or an escape?
Ooh.
You can't.
All of
But
the
no,
above.
listen. Okay, back up there again. One more time.
Uh,
Hold on. First of all,
uh,
what you need to remove is healing. Ain't nobody coming in the lifestyle for no healing, unless it's sexual healing. That's all
listen,
coming for is sexual
uh,
healing. All right. I
I
don't
know they
know.
shouldn't,
That's not
but
true.
I mean, I
I
don't know.
agree. They do.
So
I
I
can't
was
agree with
just,
that
I
either.
don't, I can't, I
you
don't
can't see
know.
it. I know.
Not
No, it's
it's not so much on the swing side, but on the kink BDM side,
Yeah.
there is a
yeah,
therapy through that and all kinds of things.
That
So
is
there
true.
are some that come through, very few, but from a place of healing and
I was just
that
joking.
openness to
I
do
was
so.
just joking when I said that. But
Mhm.
everybody comes in for different reasons. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, I
True
can't tell you
story.
what the majority of people come in for. Everybody coming for different reasons. For us, like we just had a conversation. One time I had just joined the army. Thank you, Speed. I had just joined the
Mhm.
Uh,
army. I had just joined the army, and we was sitting out in the back talking and drinking, and it just came up, and we was like, okay, and we tried to find it, and that's when I
Mhm.
searched in North Carolina. We started looking. It took us, and that's the difference between here and anywhere else. It took us a good in 2003. It took us almost a good 6 months to find it.
Mhm.
Looking, when we ain't know where to look or how to look. Here, if you're looking for it here, oh, you gonna find it. You
You
don't
was
gotta
on.
look hard.
You had
It's
to be
gonna
all
it's
all the
like
all the old school sites, the nude Africas and all them places when you all the
What?
yeah. Listen, it
Hey,
was
yeah, it's still out there. You
yeah.
know, it's
It's
still out
it's
there.
still out there. It's still I searched for it that day that you talked about. I'm like, I wonder if it still exists. Yeah, it's still out there. Yeah,
It still exists. Yeah, but
yeah,
that's my answer to it. Okay.
yeah. Anybody else want to dive into that?
Yep, shall do.
Go go ahead, bro.
No, I really do feel like it's all of the above. I mean, um, going off of what Chi Chi said as far as like the kink BDSM side, um, I'm gonna go a little further. There are some people find their sexual find their how do I want to say this? They find their they
Your
expand
awakening.
their sexuality here in this space. There are people that were monogamous that maybe got a divorce, got out of a long relationship, and they see this and they get into this space and they're like, I never would have thought that sex could be like this. And that could be a healing part of them. That could be a freeing thing for them. Because I mean, there were things in my sexual atmosphere when I was married that I didn't do until I got to the LS.
Mm.
And
Why?
so you said what?
Why?
to be honest with you, lack of imagination.
Mm.
I mean, you lack of imagination, lack of trying, just
Lack of
being
exposure.
lack of
Mm.
expo. I mean, but see, it can't be lack of exposure because we in the era of the internet. Just look some shit up on Google. How many?
Yeah.
Now the thing is, I've been watching porn since I was a teenager. I should at least know
Mm.
something, but I ain't never seen no shit like this. I've
Well,
never heard of BD. No,
let
go
me
ahead.
ask you
I'm sorry.
this, Speed. With when I say exposure, when you said yourself that there were some things that you just didn't do, was that because you didn't know? Because what is it? 25 years ago, I was literally like, I didn't even know it was a freaking thing. All the porn I watched, all the conversations I had with my homeboys, all the nasty stuff I thought about and talked about, when you see it with your eyeballs, it's a
Mm.
different that's a different level of exposure because you can compartmentalize the fact that you see this nasty stuff these people doing on porn and you're like, okay, that's porn, it's the sale, is the chick you picked up on the bus stop, is she doing all of that stuff? Most likely not, right? The roundaway girl ain't doing all of that. But when you get into these spaces and it's like, wait a minute, it's exposure. Like my mind was blown. My first party, I ain't gonna lie to
Mm.
I'm just still waiting on the
you.
pizza delivery girl to come to my door, and I ain't got the money to pay. And and we were so.
This nigga. Wow.
Very different in that aspect because I have a very vivid imagination and
I
it's
know.
always been that way. So
Mm.
I just there was no shock value for me.
Mm-hmm.
I just got here and was like, oh, this is where y'all been all this
Mm.
time. I just was, I was on the outside over there. It wasn't, you know what I mean? But there was no shock value for me. But I will say that what I have heard from a lot of women in this space is that they do come into a knowing of themselves, a finding of themselves. It is a liberating feeling to be in a space where, for the most part, it is non-judgmental, and they are allowed to openly express their desires, and to act upon them and things like that, and even encouraged to do so. I know for men that may not be such a big thing because that's you don't really have the same societal, you know what I mean, stipulations like women, as far as wanting more than one man, or hell, just wanting to do this, period. Women are expected to be virginal and chaste and modest and all these things. And so but men are, they're there, it's
Or
conquest and all of that. So it is a very liberating space for a lot of women to be able to come out and just say, you know what, I have my own fantasies, my own desires, and I can be proud to say those and engage in those, and to feel, like, okay, I'm in a space where people accept that, and um, they're willing to, not only accept it, encourage it, facilitate it in some, instances. So I think the experience also varies between men and women.
I agree.
Take that.
And to add real quick, and to add to the escape part, when I got into flogging, I talked to somebody about it, and they told me their experience as the dom that he is, um, about the escaping of his mind whenever he does certain things. And I thought that was fake. I was like, ain't no way there's a space where you go and you're doing this thing, um but then I was thinking so vanilla, so monogamous, because when you're playing a sport and you just in the zone, that's the same thing of when I'm doing this thing. When I'm doing this thing that I love to do, and I'm trying to escape my mind. I'm just in the zone, basically. And people are wanting to escape their feelings, their emotions. They want to be able to feel when they're doing these BDSM, these kink things, or even just being able to have sex. Maybe that is their escape, their sexual escape. So I mean, like I said, I think all of them is why people enter into this.
Can I say one thing, Ed,
Yeah,
about the
yeah.
shock value, right? I wasn't
Mm,
shocked, right? And on day zero for us, right? It wasn't a shock value. The shock value came with me, with it me saying, "Oh shit, I'm actually in a live form. Like I'm in it now. I'm like you know what I
mm,
mean? That's where the shock value came, and not that to see it because you know I guess I was different. We seen all that stuff in New York anyway, but
mm,
um, being in it for the first time and actually seeing it, it was the shock value. And then I didn't really get the shock value until I went to my first kink event here. That was the
mm,
shock value, like the first real big kink event. And the
mm,
shocking part came for me realizing how much that shit was like a turn on for me because I never even thought about it before. That wasn't a part of my thinking process until I actually in it and seeing it for the first time, and I was like, "Oh, this shit's hot." That's when I really, so that's what
When I
shocked.
said shock value, I definitely was in concurrence to what you're saying. Like, I'm literally at this party and I'm fucking 8 women in one night.
Yep.
Like, that
oh,
was like, wait a minute, this is really happening. You see that on a
mm.
porn and you know it's a thing, but real live and in person,
That ain't how it work. All right. Everybody in here has been married or in long term relationships. So, question is it harder to grow old together in non traditional relationships?
No.
Now,
ooh.
now I feel like yes.
Okay. I'm gonna let you start in since you feel like yes now.
Yeah, I feel that now in today's time in society, we have too much to look at. We have too much to compare it to. So so I feel like sometimes we look, oh, the new shiny thing. My relation, I want my relation, I want my relationship to look like that. Now, granted, we are not supposed. Everybody's relationship is not going to be the same. Everybody's thing is not going to be the same. Don't agree with you trying to pose your relationship as somebody else's. Uh, but your mother's mother, and your mother's 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 relationship, they all look different here in the last 40 years. So you I'm not saying that they just had to stay, but they knew the benefits of staying and why they stayed. But growing up and in this modern time, now it's like, well, I don't have to stay here. I can take care of myself. I can take care of these kids. I may not want to by myself, but I'm going to. And that's going to make me a stronger person, whether you're male or female, regardless, whether you're male or female. Um, and so I feel like a lot of people are not necessarily choosing their relationship, they're choosing themselves and what their happiness is. And if that person, the spouse, is not on the same page as them, then ultimately they will leave and go about their business.
I don't feel like there's a difference. I feel like both have issues with longevity, but for different reasons. Monogamous relationships, again, it tends to be the complacency, the there's no competition, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of times if you're not rooted, if your relationship isn't truly, grounded, then you start to let it fall off. It's natural. We get accustomed to things. We have a new car. We may love it for the first 5 years, 10 years. We have it. Eventually, it gets old, and you have some that can appreciate an older car and the reliability of it, and the fact that it's still classics and things like that. And then you have those who ready to trade in, those who only get on lease, those who what I mean will buy, those who will buy used. It's all kinds of, so it's like there really is no, I wouldn't say one does that better than the other. When you're in the ethical non-monogamous space, then you have it's different in the sense that yes, you whether there is competition, real competition or not, it is perceived. Everybody does it, like,
Yeah.
because that's where insecurities are born from. So it's not necessarily that somebody is literally saying, I'm here trying to steal your person, but our insecurities are born from the idea that there is in some way competition. There's some way that this person can be pleased more than I do, or happier elsewhere, or whatever the case may be. And that little bit of knowledge, even if it's just subconscious, it's not something that you act on or your emotions are based on. That little bit of knowledge keeps you. To me, it keeps it a little fresher. It keeps you wanting to reinvent yourself and wanting to reconnect with your partner and things like that. That's something I feel like people do in the non-monogamous space better than in the monogamous space, is reconnecting, constantly coming back to the drawing board and saying, okay, where do we need to pivot? What do we need to do differently? What needs to change? What's working for us? What's not? Monogamous, it's like once you sign up for it, then it's pretty much just this is what you signed up for, and then you don't want it, and now you're getting a divorce because you changed. But people are ever changing, so I think that is there is no one side stays together or there's more longevity for multiple reasons. Both sides often
I was
fail with it.
I was explaining to somebody once recently about how I became a better communicator, husband to my wife, and it happened with watching her date someone and getting her feelings hurt a little bit. And seeing that she bought a gift and the gift was left on the table for this person, and like at their birthday, and like seeing the hurt on her face, like, and having to be her friend in that moment and not her husband. You know what I mean? So like explaining that to people, like, because a lot of people wouldn't understand that. They would say, "Oh, well, shit, you're letting her do this anyway." Like, no, I'm not. That's who she is. It's her truth. She's non-monogamous. She chose to be, connected to a person, and she had her feelings hurt. And my job is to make sure that I have to wear a different hat and be a friend at that moment, and not be someone who's gonna be like, "Well, shouldn't have been fucking that nigga anyway." Yeah,
Right.
because that would be the mindset that most people are saying, like, well, you shouldn't have been doing this. If you wasn't, you were just fucking with me, then you don't have to worry about that. But it helped me grow with how I need to communicate and some of the things that I need to make sure that I'm doing better in those moments, and make sure that I'm always mindful of different things, not just with her, but anyone else that I choose to date or anything like that. You know what I mean? So it was a lesson for both of us. She doesn't know that. I'm sure when she watched this, she's gonna be like, nigga, but but it's just, I'm gonna let you go ahead, Miko, but I just wanted to kind of just share that where I learned how to be better in that space, where I learned to support better due to non-monogamy.
I just wanted to piggyback off of what G said. He said the question was harder. I don't think it's harder. I think both have their challenges and they both have their advantages and disadvantages, right? But I think it all depends on the individual and what you're looking for, right? If you're still looking to be out there in the streets and you're still looking to be out there going to these parties and slaying everything and not really ready to, to settle down, and you can still, for me, that's when I realized when I was, the streets wasn't fun no more. That's when things change, and so it depends on what you're looking for. If you ain't looking to settle down, you ain't gonna settle down. You're gonna keep running the streets. When you're ready to settle down and That's when it becomes easy. The tunnel, the end of the road becomes easy. You see it clear.
Well, I'm
What
gonna change it. Oh, go ahead. I'm speaking. Let you answer that, then I'm gonna
real
change the question.
yeah, real quick. So, just I'm a kind of piggyback off of what Miko said. So it sometimes, I mean, well, in a way I kind of disagree, with the light being at the end of the tunnel for people when it comes to being in a relationship. Maybe the light at the end of the tunnel is not being in a long-term relationship. Maybe it is just being content with who they are and just being happy with themselves, because there are, either nobody can make them happier than themselves, or they just haven't found nobody that can make them, well, not, I'm not going to say make them happy, but equal their part as far as being their spouse or partner. um and sometimes they may come off of just trauma, different relationships that they're like, well, I'm just going to do me, and they can be in the streets, but they happy when they go home and they're peaceful. They can do all these things every day, all night, every night. But when they go home, they're peaceful and they're content with who they are and what their life is.
Right.
Everybody don't like themselves, though.
But yeah, so we talking about two different ends of the spectrum. You talking
Hmm.
about on one end, and you're right, because that happens. You do have people that out there that's content and that's what they want to do. That's what I'm saying. That depends on what the individual is looking for. If that's what you're looking for, then cool. But those that are looking to settle down and be with somebody and have somebody to come home to, that's what I mean at the light at the end of the tunnel.
Got you.
I did both. You know what I mean? I did that. And then when that got old and I got tired of that and I wanted more than just that, I saw, for me, that was the light at the end of the tunnel. The retirement, the to have somebody to be with that I know, that I trust, that has been my ride or die from day one. That's the light at the end of the tunnel, the retirement. That's what I see. But everybody has different visions. Your light at the end of the tunnel could still be in the streets, going to every party, and ain't nothing wrong with it. That's just what your goal. That's what you want to do. That's what you want to do.
Right.
Well, I
Jay, I
think
got a.
that is it a different question or the one question everybody else is
It's
asking?
gonna it's gonna my yours is gonna be different. But I'll let you go ahead and jump in. Go ahead and jump in this.
Okay, so the one thing that I think, as far as if we're going to compare growing old in a monogamous or growing old in a non-monogamous, the actual key in order to grow old is leadership, creating a framework and a construct that actually works for both parties, that's beneficial to both parties, and each person individually doing the work to show up in the ship. People, whether you non-monogamous or monogamous, a lot of people aren't doing the work individually because there's work for the ship, right? And but are you doing the individual work as you grow, as you change, as your favorite color changes from red to pink? Are you communicating that? Or are you in this space like how you don't know my favorite color and all this other stuff? Are you doing the individual work to present yourself to this ship whole? And a lot of people ain't doing that. So it don't matter non-monogamous, monogamous or monogamous. People need to do the work. That's just my thoughts. And what was the actual
Get your
the next
let,
question?
let me give you some other thoughts. What's your thoughts on this one? All right.
Okay.
What did you have to unlearn to love better?
Ooh. Now you talking to a cat that has been in therapy 3.5, almost 4 years.
Oh, that
So
means that means you unpack some shit. So,
So yeah, there was a lot of unpacking. So one of the quickest wins for me was the gaslighting. Now, when I say gaslighting, by definition, gaslighting is if you're having a conversation with someone and they walk away thinking like, I know I ain't crazy. You just gaslit the fuck out of them, right? So I come home from work. The old lady is like, "Hey, babe, well, what's going on? Are you okay?" I'm fine. What you mean? I'm good. You know how men do. We good. Like, why are you asking me what's wrong with me when whether it was traffic was hellacious, whether I got into it with somebody at my job, whether I got the wrong text from a family member or whatever, something is going on with me. I did not know that I had the right, that I had the responsibility to say, "Hey, look, babe, I do have something going on. What
Mm.
you see in my face is real, but I don't want to talk about it right now." Because it was just so much easier to be like, yeah, I'm good. And she just sitting there thinking like, now I know this nigga for all these years. I know something going on with him, but oh well, he don't want to talk. So I learned to be transparent and be able to own that, hey, I don't want to talk about it. Give me some cycles, some times to process what I'm feeling and thinking. Because the one thing I didn't want to do is have a bad day at work and take that out on her. So I learned to not just blow somebody off and be like, hey, I'm good. But if I say I don't want to talk about it, actually do the processing, actually think about it, and come back and say, hey, you know, you asked me the other day what was going on. Are you in a space to talk about it? What's your energy like? Let's chop it up. Let's talk about it. Let me tell you exactly everything that was going on, fully transparently, to the break it down like you two. I didn't used to do that. So that was one of the quickest things I had to unlearn doing in order to have a safe and secure and a healthy space.
Mm-hmm.
I go Chi, Meko, then Speed.
For me, I had to unlearn instantly validating my emotions.
Give me, yeah, let's dive into that. Because-
So,
I can't wait.
like, we hear this all the time, oh, your emotions, the way you feel is valid and things like that, right? And for me, I had to learn to question my emotions. Just because I feel it does not make it right. Just
Mm.
because I am um angry, or because whatever you did made me mad, like, it does not make me right because I feel that
Rewind.
way. So I I learned to actively question my emotions. Like, if Chris does something and I'm upset about it, I will ask myself why. Like, what are you really upset about? And once I kind of go through it, a lot of times I'm just upset because I want to be upset. Like,
It
it's
ain't
not
that
that
big a
he's
deal.
done
Yeah.
something that has really, like, he's not offended. He hasn't violated, but it's just pure emotion. There's no logic behind it. And so I learned to ask myself, like, what is it that you're really upset about? Was this a violation? Did we discuss this boundary and he crossed this boundary? Did he, am I upset that he didn't read my mind about it or feel the way I should, that he didn't feel the way I feel he should feel about it? Did he not react the way I would have reacted? Is that why I'm upset? A lot of times it is. It is that
it's
he
that
didn't process
last
it
one.
in a way that I would process it. And I had to learn to give grace and understand that, I've always been just a study of people. I love to understand why people do the things they do, what makes them do and think the way they do, even if it's contrary to mine, especially if it's contrary to the way I think. Um, and so in that, I've learned that, you know what I mean? You can do something and it may come across as offensive to me. It may be, I may find it wholly disrespectful. But disrespect is abstract. What I may feel is disrespectful, you may not feel is disrespectful. You know what I mean? And I actually learned that. That was from I learned that through my children. Quick story. My son, one day, his teacher wrote home. He was in like junior high, no, elementary. His teacher wrote home and was like, um, it was very disrespectful in class today, and um, he said some things that were just not okay. And my, of course, first response as a parent is like, wait, I didn't raise you to be, you know what I mean? But in talking to him, he was genuinely confused as to why it was why he was written up as disrespectful. So I was like, well, what did you say? And he was like, she said something, and he was like, Jesus Christ. And so the lady, I messaged and emailed the teacher back, and I was like, would you mind telling me specifically, what the interaction, what the exchange was? Because I'd like to explain it, better to him. Because to tell a child, oh, you're being disrespectful, what does that mean?
Right.
Do they understand what you perceive as disrespect? You know what I mean? So for her, it was disrespectful because he was using the Lord's name in vain. And while, of course, we,
Oh
have
wow.
taught and things like that, that is your personal feeling and emotion. But he did not disrespect the classroom. He did not disrespect you. You know what I mean? That's just how you felt about what he said. And so I learned that from them when they were young. And so it made me to also look at that in my relationships. Like the things I perceive as being disrespectful or thoughtless or whatever the case may be, is it I'm perceiving that way because I feel it because of my emotions, or am I perceiving it that way because that's what it was? It was intended that way. And that allows me to give a lot of grace in my relationships and things like that, to understand that we all don't think the same. We all don't reason the same, and things like that. And I just had to learn to, like I said, question my emotions. Because they're not, just because they are my emotions, and that may be truly how I'm feeling, that does not mean they are valid. It does not mean that they are correct or, right.
Meko?
Bravo, lady. Yes. So it says what I had to unlearn to love better. I don't think I ever had a problem loving. Um, so I would say what I had to unlearn to make me a better partner. Um, One was believing her when she told me to just tell me, you know, like I said, most guys don't want to tell. So she said, just tell me and let me make the decision that is blah, blah. And I would never really give her the whole, truth or whatever. But after, years and years, I finally thought, okay, you want to know? I did it like pumping. You want to know? I'm gonna start telling you everything. I started telling her some things hurt her feelings, but what I learned was she, she was more understanding than I thought she would be. The things that I didn't know, she would be more understanding to. That's one. And the second thing I had to learn is that to listen. I know this sounds cliche, but this was big for me. Listen to understand and not to respond.
Absolute. Bravo,
So
sir.
you know what I mean? So that's the two things that I had to unlearn to be a better partner.
Speed?
Yeah. Um, for me, what I'm learning, I'm not gonna say I've never had a problem loving. I agree with Mika. I don't have a problem with loving, but for me, going forward, moving forward, um, uh, not being afraid to be honest, and not saying being honest like just telling the truth all the time, but being brutally honest, telling somebody, telling somebody this is how I feel, and that's it. Like not being scared of their reactions, their responses, not, being fearful of, them leaving or them yelling, them doing whatever. Like, I mean, same way that I feel, this person's going to feel too. But if I'm not being transparent, if I'm not being honest with this person about about me not being vulnerable, then they're not going to truly be able to love me because I'm really giving them a false pretense of who I am. So being completely honest with who I am and what I want to do, where I want to go, and my vision for my life along with ours, moving forward. So yeah.
I will say I have one more. The second one that I would say I have would be, I just lost my word. Well, let me try and explain in a different way since I lost the word I was trying to use. But the for me, it is I had to also unlearn. Um, Lord, why is the word's like on the tip of my tongue and I can't think of it at the moment.
She said tip of the tongue.
Right, it's like right there, but I cannot think of it. I literally was going down a train of thought and I tried to backtrack and I forgot.
I gotta take notes. I'm gonna forget.
I don't know, here, color to the colored book.
Y'all got a whole chat over here y'all can write in.
Listen,
Oh,
I
see,
probably,
I don't even use it. But good Lord, let me stop for just a second.
well, listen, Chicha, you come
Go
back
ahead,
to
yeah.
that because I got one last question for y'all because we've been at this about an hour, almost. So I'm gonna try to keep it to an hour and a half. We've been an hour and 20 minutes, so this last question for y'all, and we're gonna see if Chichi if we can get on the tip of her tongue, and get this question from her. Whatever I need to do on
Yeah.
the
I would love to get
whatever
on the TT tongue.
whatever I got to do to get on the tip of your tongue to get this question out.
Oh my gosh.
All right,
Sorry. Did I say that
I'm
out
gonna
loud?
start.
Did I say that out loud? My bad. Okay,
I'm
good.
a, Jay. I'm gonna start with you, man.
Okay.
What does a healthy relationship look like to you today?
Ooh. Okay. Um, a healthy relationship today for me
Hmm.
is one that is transparent versus honest, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to where there is a certain level of alignment. Because I don't know about other people, but historically, another thing I had to unlearn is everything I like didn't always like me back, right? So I'd much rather have someone that is into me for who I am and not my potential or not what she sees me as. But if I can be
Mm-hmm.
transparent and she's in a place to where she has the grace, the understanding, and the patience to understand I'm human, I'm not going to always get it right. And we're both working tirelessly to create that safe and that secure space. That's the biggest win for healthy for me because there's been times to where I've had a conversation and she'll be saying, "Hey, wait a minute, hold on, are you okay? Like, what's going on? This ain't your normal way of communicating. It sounds like you either tiptoeing around or you leaving stuff out." And immediately I said, "You know what? Let's start over because it's not you, it's me. I'm uncomfortable with sharing this with you. I've told you about women I've played with and things I've done in all this time since the beginning. And I don't know why specifically, but this particular time I'm uncomfortable about sharing it." And I retracted and I started explaining and telling her the story all over again. And like it was crazy to me because I was kind of fudging on my words because I was a little shook about what I was discussing with her. So the safety and the security, the transparency, the alignment of knowing that we want the same things out of life. It's not like she's saying, "Yeah, I think your vision is a good idea," just to be saying it. Like it's been tested and tried and true that we're just aligned. So healthy to me is transparent, having grace and patience, and just being aligned. We both goofy as hell. You know, you can be with somebody and you not able to be your authentic self because some of those things you like, some of those ways you communicate don't align well with that person. Alignment is so freeing. So,
Miko.
That's tough. You know what I'm saying? Because I think that's different for everybody based on what you're looking for and where you at in your life. So I tried to sum it up in 5 words, but I just have 4 words. Um, but I'm gonna keep it real short. Transparency, like Jay said, transparency, communication, trust, and loyalty. For me, that's that's what I need. You know what I mean? And everything else Anything else that will spawn from that, and it will will be good. Those 4 things: transparency, communication, trust, and love.
Speed.
A healthy relationship to me right now looks like plants growing out the ground. Basically, you being in your raw form and being able to figure out how to grow from there. So you know you might go just real quick. You might have a plant that grows, and you might have you might have product on that plant that's good, and then you have some that's bad. And the thing is, a lot of people will throw out that bad just to get to the good. But really, all of those things that are growing are good for something. The bad might not be good to eat, but it's good to throw back into the ground, mush it up so it can regrow, or that it can help something else grow. That's the other good stuff. You can eat that. You can sell it. You can do all the things. It's good. It's profitable. It's healthy. It's all the things. And I want to be able to be in my raw form and be vulnerable in every single aspect of my next relationship. And I want
Organic.
organic. There you go. I want to be organic. And I want my partner to be organic. I want us to cry. I want us to talk. I want us to do all the things together. That way we don't have to ask each other if it's something going on. We already know. So let's sit down and talk about it.
Chichi.
So, and I did remember my answer to the other one too. I would say a healthy relationship for me is all under the guise of a friendship. If we cannot be friends, we cannot be anything else. That is the start of it all. That is the thought of it all. If I don't enjoy your company, if I don't, I mean, just on a very base level, then what can we build on that? I feel like that is an issue with the longevity, like we talked about earlier, where so many people, they're in relationships with people that they love fucking, and that's it.
Mm.
They don't have anything else.
There's
There's
no
there's
depth.
no foundation. There's no anything there. It's trauma bonds and condoms. That's it. And so a lot of these folks,
You
and
better
it's just
speak,
like,
lady.
there's nothing there of substance. There's just nothing there of substance, so there's nothing to fall back on when those misunderstandings come, when those, like, not to get religious or anything, but like there is a scripture that says that love covers a multitude of sins. And the truth and the very base logic of that, like we joke about it, like, oh, if fine men get more passes than ugly men. That's kind of a very, rudimentary understanding of it. But what it is basically saying is, if I have love for you, if I care for you, your mistakes, they're mistakes. They're not, you know what I mean? It's not malice. It's not you, you know what I mean, against me or I against you. We understand that that is a problem. It is an isolated problem. So when we attack it, we attack the problem, not each other. And when you know what I mean, for me, like I said, a healthy relationship, it starts with friendship. There must be mutual respect. There must be open and honest communication. And a lot of people have not started that with themselves. You can't be open and honest with somebody else if you haven't been open and honest with yourself. If you don't know what you like, if you don't know what you want, if you don't know where you are, if you don't know who you are, if you don't know your flaws, if you don't know your strengths, then how can you honestly look for that or any of those in someone else? You don't know what you need. That's like, you know what I mean? I want to make a meal and I go to the grocery store and I just go buy a bunch of random ingredients. Yeah, it's food, but is it going to fix the meal that I planned? If I don't know what I already have in my fridge and what I'm missing and what I need to go get, then I'm wasting time. So you need to know what you have at home, in your home first. Then you go out and when your partner should be a, they should complement you. So when you're looking for a partner, you should be looking for somebody that compliments you by bringing strengths that you don't have.
Right.
And you also bringing strengths that they don't have. If we both know how to go out and get money and things, that's great. We can all come together on that. But if both of us know how to go out and do it, but none of us know how to keep it, then what did we do? So we have to complement each other in that way, but you can't do that. You can't even begin to look for that if you don't know yourself. And I feel like that's where open and honest communication comes with. It's not just to your partner, but with yourself. Loyalty, you know what I mean? Even in an ethical, non-monogamous space, loyalty is still a thing. There is a such thing as cheating in E&M space. And cheating is going to be defined differently than, of course, it is in general monogamous space, because it's defined by whatever boundaries you have set in your relationship.
Right.
So, loyalty is an aspect. And then I feel any healthy relationship must also have growth. If you are stagnant, if you are retreating, you are not in a healthy relationship. That does not mean that you can't come back to square one and say, we need to relook at this and things like that. But there must be growth. You have to grow together in some kind of way, shape, or form. Because what do we do with, dead shit? We prune trees. You know what I mean? We cut the dead. We wait. So if we're not growing, if we're not flourishing, we're not living. If we're not living, we are dead. And if we are dead, we cut the dead weight.
Yep.
Gigi, do you remember what your last thing before I go and close
I
this out?
did. The other thing that I had to unlearn in relationships was what I call playing the game. And the game is when somebody expresses interest in me, and then I have to wait 24 hours before I call them back because I don't want to seem too thirsty. And then we go on a date and I have to call him by this time, but then you know what I mean? Oh, we don't talk on, like, I learned to stop with the game, and I call the game all kinds of things. It's the 90-day rule, you can't get any until I don't play the game. It has to be organic for me. It just has to happen naturally. And what that helped me to stop doing was a lot of the passive aggressive behaviors. You know what I mean? Because again, I'm expecting them to read my mind or whatever the case may be. And it helped me to clearly communicate what it is I want and what I don't want. Like Speed said, I don't communicate it now in a way where I feel like I'm communicating something wrong because I'm telling you my desires. And I know that this may be a little far-fetched. Like, again, I have a very healthy imagination. I'm sure I shot Chris about once a week at least with something I've told him that I want or whatever the case may be. But the thing is that I had to get to a space where I gave voice to that. And I was confident in giving voice to that. Because what happened is in the past, I would either hold it in and not express it and just never, and so I would minimize myself, and I kept making myself smaller to fit into whatever confined or construct that this person's idea of the relationship was supposed to be. Especially for myself being a more submissive person and being in that space, it just makes, I naturally am going to try and form the relationship around what makes him comfortable as opposed to myself. And then, of course, like I said, with the societal norms and all that kind of stuff, certain things you just never say, like, you know what I mean? In especially in the monogamous space or outside of LS space. Let me not say monogamous, outside of LS space. It can just be really, daunting. You can't tell them, a regular vanilla person that you want, an MFM or whatever the case, things just as basic as that or whatever. Well, I won't say a basic, but things like that. As a woman, you can't tell them because it's this Madonna effect. You have to theme, this way. And even though they were aware of, my open-mindedness and like I'm very much a flower child and all that kind of thing, I was still very much confined within that. So it was more just, like I said, learning not to play the game as far as, this back and forth and trying to reel you in and all that kind of stuff. I'm very direct, very forward. If I like you, I like you. And I'll tell you, I literally will tell you, I like you. I'll tell you, these are the feelings I have for you. And whatever, you can do with them what you want to do with them. I'm just letting you know what mine are. And then I don't have any expectations beyond that. So that was definitely something I had to learn just for all, as far as any relationship, is just not to minimize or compromise myself, but to clearly communicate what I want and let that person choose.
For me, healthy relationship, um, it isn't just about love. Um, it's about liking your partner more than you love them, because love is intense, it's emotional, it can be physical, but liking someone daily, that I'm choosing them on a day to day basis, that's what liking someone to me is. It's our friendship, it's the laughter we share. It's when nothing is happening, we just sit on the couch playing games on our phone because I'm choosing just to exist with that person. It's enjoying the presence. It's you know, you know, it's for me a healthy relationship. I feel safe. I'm safe to speak. I'm safe to disagree. I'm safe to grow with them. It's a mutual effort without us scorekeeping. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times, we try to one up each other. Some people try to one up each other in relationships. We don't have to keep score in order for us to have that respect. It's respect in private and in public. Because a lot of times what we see in public with a lot of people, people ain't getting that stuff and when they're alone. Man, I make my wife feel like the sexiest person alive, whether I'm with y'all or whether it's just me and her in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna do all the shit that need to be done. So, it's having a hard conversation without trying to win the conversation.
Right.
Because a lot of us, we get into an argument, we feel like, oh, I gotta win this argument. It's not what that is. Intimacy, when given freely and not using it as leverage. That's to me is what, all this is, just two people who are genuinely just there for each other, not just two people who are just attached to each other, you know. And so, well, end of the day, I like, it's a choice.
Oh,
Liking someone is a choice. I need both. I need love, but liking someone is a choice, and I choose my person every single day. So, yeah, that's a healthy relationship for me. Sorry, I know I went long winded, but
it was
yeah,
good.
It is what it is.
We
yeah.
with you,
So
brother.
Right.
I'm gonna leave y'all with something. And people who watching this, I want y'all to answer this question. I've never done this before. I want y'all to answer this last question in the comments section. I'm gonna leave this with y'all too, and maybe take this with your partners or people you're talking to and things like that, or people you're getting to know. And ask this question: have your views on commitment changed over time? Because y'all gotta answer it now.
Put that
But
in,
that's how we go.
put that
But you want to put
shit,
that?
put that in the thing tomorrow.
Okay. But yeah, ask that question. Have you? Go ahead.
We got a story to tell. We got something to say.
Yeah, I've changed.
Yeah. But I want to see if we can get some people in the comments to answer this or put it in conversation cocktails. I want to share this out when we share this episode out and stuff like that to different people. Put that as the status. Have your views on commitment change. I want to try something different just to see, just to get people really kind of thinking that, because I can guarantee it should have, because you've grown
Yep.
and you're not the same person. But, for people who haven't, they're not going to watch it before we put the question out there, but it should have changed somewhat.
Mine absolutely hasn't. I had the
Uh,
best example of it
nigga.
from jump.
Changed.
Mine
Yeah.
absolutely hasn't,
Yeah.
because the definition of commitment hasn't changed. So why would my view of it change?
Hey, yeah.
My views haven't changed about it. My actions have changed about it.
Mm. That was what
Like the
Jody.
way you execute it may have changed, but my
Yeah.
views on it haven't changed because the definition
Well,
of it hasn't
and
changed.
that's why I like the question. 'Cause we all gonna see it differently, and you know what I mean. So we're gonna look at it as the question. We're gonna look at it as the action. We're gonna look at it as I need to answer this just this statement, or we're gonna look at it as some people may think it's fluid, depending on the partner that you're with. So, all right, y'all. I'm gonna go ahead and end that here. I appreciate y'all, Jay Jizzle, Miko, Chi Speed. Listen, this was fun. I like the energy. I like the different dialogue. I like what we brought to this. Hopefully, y'all willing to do this again. So, um, I'm we'll leave it at
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So, appreciate y'all.